Good afternoon, Year 6. Okay, welcome to another reading session with me. Now, this is going to be the 18th Emergency by Betsy Byers. Now, it's very important that you follow this story because it is our new topic, which is going to be modern fiction. Okay, and it's all going to be based around this book. So, make sure you're paying attention. Okay, if you're ever unsure, go back and listen to it again. I'll be releasing a new chapter every day. Okay, so I'll do one chapter today on Friday, and then there'll be one over the weekend and Monday, Tuesday, and so on and so on, okay? So make sure that you keep listening to this. If you want to read this yourself, okay, you can do so, but please don't read past chapter 8. Now then, the 18th Emergency by Betsy Byers. Chapter 1. The pigeons flew out of the alley in one long swoop and settled on the awning of the grocery store. A dog ran out of the alley with a torn Cracker Jack box in his mouth. Then came a boy. The boy was running hard and fast. He stopped at a sidewalk, looked both ways, saw that the street was deserted, and kept going. The dog caught the boy's fear, and he started running with him. The two of them ran together for a block. The dog's legs were so short, he appeared to be on wheels. His Cracker Jack box was hitting the sidewalk. He kept glancing at the boy because he didn't know why they were running. The boy knew. He did not even notice a dog beside him or the trail of spilled Cracker Jacks behind him. Suddenly, the boy slowed down, went up some stairs and entered an apartment building. The dog stopped. He sensed that the danger had passed, but he stood for a moment at the bottom of the stairs. Then he went back to eat the Cracker Jacks scattered on the sidewalk and to snarl at pigeons who had flown in to get some. Inside the building, the boy was still running. He went up the stairs 3 at a time, stumbled, pulled himself up by the banister and kept going until he was safely inside his own apartment. Then, he sagged against the door. His mother was sitting on the sofa, going over some papers. The boy waited for her to look up and ask him what had happened. He thought she should be able to hear something was wrong, just from the terrible way that he was breathing. "Mum," he said. "Just a minute, I've got to get these orders straight." When she went over her cosmetic orders, she had a dedicated scientific look. He waited until she got to the end of the paper. "Mum!" Without looking up, she turned to the next page. "Mum!" "I'm almost through. There's a mistake Never mind." He walked heavily through the living room and into the hall. He threw himself down onto his bed. His mother said, "I'm almost through this, Benji." "Never mind." The boy looked up at the ceiling, and in a blur he saw a long cobweb hanging by the light fixture. A month ago he had climbed up on a chair and written "unsafe for public swinging" and drawn an arrow to the cobweb. It was still there. He closed his eyes and he was breathing so hard that his throat hurt. "Benji, come back. I'm through now," his mother called. "Never mind." "Come on, Benji, I want to talk to you." He got up slowly and walked into the living room. She had put her order books on the coffee table. "Sit down, tell me what's wrong." He hesitated and then sat beside her on the sofa. She waited and then she said again, "What's wrong?" He did not answer for a moment. He looked out of the window and he could see the apartment across the street. A yellow cat was sitting in the window watching the pigeons. He said in a low voice, "Some boys are trying to kill me." "Not kill you, Benny," she said. "No one is." He glanced quickly at her. "Well, how do I know what they're going to do?" he said, suddenly angry. "They're chasing me, that's all I know. When you see someone chasing you, when it's Marv Hammerman and Tony Leone and a boy in a black sweatshirt, you don't stop and say, 'Now, what exactly are you going to do with me? Kill me or just break a few arms and legs?'" "What did you do to these boys?" "What did I do? I didn't do anything. You think I would do something to Marv Hammerman, who is the biggest boy in my school? He is bigger than the 8th graders. He should be in high school." "I know you did something. I can always tell. Now, what happened?" "Nothing, Mum. I didn't do anything." He looked down at his shoes, and with his foot he began to kick at the rug. A little mound of red lint piled up in front of his shoe. Well, they won't be after you for nothing. Well, they are. He paused. He knew he had to give an explanation, but he could not give the right one. So he said, maybe Hammerman doesn't like me. I don't know, I'm not a mind reader. Look at me, Benji. Without looking up, he said, Mum, just listen to what Ma Hammerman did to this boy in my room one time. The boy was in line in the cafeteria and Hammerman came up to him and... What I want to hear is what happened today, Benji. Just listen. And this boy in the cafeteria was standing in line, Mum, doing absolutely nothing. And Hammerman comes up to him and... Benji, what happened today? He hesitated. He looked down at his tennis shoe and there was a hole in where his toe was. He had taken a ballpoint pen and written air vent and drawn a little arrow on his shoe pointing to the hole. What happened? She asked again. Nothing. He did not look at her. Benji? Nothing happened. She sighed, then abruptly she looked up. The beans! She walked to the kitchen and he lay back on the sofa and closed his eyes. Benji! He looked up. His mother was leaning around the door looking at him. Why don't you watch television? Get your mind off yourself, that always helps. No, it won't help. Well, let's just see what's on. She came back in, turned on the television and waited for the set to warm up. He closed his eyes. He knew there was nothing on television that could interest him. Tarzan, his mother said. You've always loved Tarzan. He opened his eyes and glanced at the screen. In the depths of the jungle, a hunter had stumbled into quicksand and Tarzan was swinging to the rescue. All the hunter has to do, he said with a disgusted sigh, is lie in the quicksand and not struggle and he won't sink. Well, that wouldn't leave Tarzan for anything to do, would it? His mother said, smiling a little. I don't know. He closed his eyes and shifted on the sofa. After a minute, he heard his mum go back into the kitchen. He opened his eyes. On the screen, the hunter was still struggling. Cheetah was beginning to turn nervous somersaults, and Tarzan was getting closer. Once he and his friend, Ezzy, had made a list of all the ways that they knew to stay alive. Ezzy had claimed he could stay alive in the jungle forever. Ezzy said every jungle emergency had a simple solution. Lying on the sofa, he tried to remember some of those old emergencies. A second one came into his mind. Emergency 2. Attack by an unfriendly lion. Lion attack, Ezzy claimed, was an everyday occurrence in the jungle. What you had to do to survive was to wait until the very last moment, until the lion was almost upon you, and then you had to ram your arm all the way down the back of his throat. This would choke the lion and make him helpless. It was bound to be a little unpleasant, as he admitted, to be up to your shoulder in lion, but that couldn't be helped. Is the Tarzan movie any good? His mum shouted from the kitchen. No. He reached out with his foot and turned off the television. He sighed. Nothing could take his mind off Marv Hammerman for long. Well, if it makes you feel any better, his mum shouted from the kitchen, Teddy Roosevelt had the same problem. I saw it on television. Boys used to pick on him and chase him all the time. No, it doesn't, he said. He waited a minute and then asked, what did Teddy Roosevelt do about it? Well, as I remember it, Teddy's father got a gymnasium and Teddy exercised and got really strong and nobody ever picked on him again. Oh. Of course, it's not the same as... Don't bother getting me a gymnasium. Now, Benji, I don't... Unless you know of some exercise that'll give me some instant muscles. He thought about it for a minute. He would go out, exercise in his pocket and say, here I am, Hammerman. Then, just when Hammerman was stepping towards him, he would whip out the exerciser, pump it once, and muscles would pop out all over his body like balloons. Well, you'll handle it, his mother shouted. In a few weeks, I'm sure you'll look back on this and laugh. Sure. He lay with his eyes closed, trying to remember some more of the old ways he and Ezzy knew how to survive life's greatest emergencies. Emergency number 3. Unexpected charge of an enraged bull. Bulls have a blind spot in the centre of their vision, so when being charged upon by a bull, try and line yourself up in its blind spot. Fat people can't do it, Mouse, Ezzy had told him. That's why you never see any fat bullfighters. You and I can. We just turn sideways like this, see? We'll get in the blind spot and we'll wait. He could remember exactly how Ezzy had looked, waiting sideways in the blind spot of an imaginary bull. And there's one other thing, Ezzy had added. It'll probably work for rhinoceros too. Emergency number 4. Crocodile attack. When attacked by a crocodile, prop a stick in its mouth, leaving the crocodile's jaws open and helpless. At one time, this had been his favourite emergency. He had spent lots of time dreaming about tricking crocodiles. He had imagined himself a tornado in the water, handing out sticks like party favours. Take that, and that, and that. The stunned crocodiles, mouths propped open, had dragged themselves away. For the rest of their lives, they had avoided children with sticks in their hands. No! His dream crocodiles had cried. Let that kid alone, he's got sticks, man, he's got sticks! Abruptly, he turned his head towards the sofa. The smile which had come to his face when he'd remembered the crocodiles had now faded. He pulled a thread off the cover of the couch. The material began to pucker. He stopped pulling, smoothed it out. Then he took his pencil from the pocket and he wrote in tiny letters on the wall, "Pull thread in case of boredom," and a little arrow to the sofa. The words blurred suddenly and he let the pencil drop behind the sofa. He lay back down. Hammerman was on his mind again, and he closed his eyes. He tried hard to think of the days when he and Ezzy had been ready to handle crocodiles and bulls, quicksand and lions. And it seemed a long time ago. Okay then. So that is the 18th emergency. We'll be reading this over the next couple of days, so make sure you are continuing to watch these videos. Make sure you know what's going on in the story, because our next unit is all about this, okay? So we're at chapter 2, and I will release that video tomorrow. So, Year 6, thank you very much. Goodbye.